Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. We are continuing with Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 13. Today we'll do verses 30 through 33. Verse number 30. Prakrityeva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmetamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So first of all, thank you all so much for joining. And this is a very long chapter, number 13. So we can see the few verses that we are going to do today are going to give us knowledge so that we can understand if we are responsible for our own happiness and distress. Usually what we do is when we are happy, we give the credit to ourselves. But when we are in distress, we try to find faults in others. We try to blame others for our distress. But these verses that we are going to do today from 30 to 33, we will get knowledge from Krishna where he tells us, of course, he's going to again stress the most important part of Bhagavad Gita, which is that we are not this body. You know, right from chapter 2, we've been hearing the difference between body and soul. So the verse that we read just now, Krishna is telling Arjuna that all the activities that are performed, they are performed by the body. And what is this body made up of? Material elements. And the soul, the spirit soul, which is inside the body, in the heart, does nothing. So whatever activities we perform, whether good or bad or ugly or whatever it may be, it's done by the body. Soul has nothing to do with it, which means we need to understand that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. We need to go above this body concept of life. You see, body is made up of material elements, whereas the soul is spiritual, it is eternal. We learned in chapter 2 where Krishna says, Na jayate mriyate va kadachit, that for the spirit soul, there's neither birth nor death. So the activities are by the body. And how do these activities come about? It's explained that when we desire, you see, first the thought comes in the mind, you know, the desire is there. And based on that desire, we perform certain activities. But this verse tells us that when the body is performing these activities, the soul remains outside these activities. That means the spirit soul has nothing to do with these activities. Now, an important question comes up in my mind, that how did we get this body? Why is it that your body is different from my body? Why is it that, you know, one body is is taking birth in a rich family, whereas the other one is taking in a poor family? How come one body is fully healthy, the other one has some problems? There's so many differences. What is it? How do we get this body? Krishna explains in chapter 3 and 5, it is based on our past karma. Whatever actions we perform, based on that, we get reactions, either good or bad. So because of our past karma and our past desires, we come with a particular kind of body, with a particular nature, in a particular family, in a particular country. It's all based on our past karma. So in fact, Bhagavad Gita says that this body is like a machine that fulfills our desires. So we use this machine to fulfill our desires. But the good point is that we can use this body as, you can say, like a boat. We can use this body as a boat to help us cross over this material world. But of course, when we want to guide the boat, we definitely need a captain. And the captain is the spiritual teacher who can guide our boat across this material world. And the Bhagavad Gita can be considered like the favorable winds that are needed to sail this boat. So important point to understand is that our desires, they lead to actions. And because of that, because it is our desire, it is our actions, that is why we are responsible for our happiness and distress. It's based on our choices, all the choices that we make. If we make the right choice, we get the right reaction. If we make bad choices, then obviously the reaction's also going to be in that same category. So we are responsible for our own happiness and distress. So important to understand is, how does all this work? With the help of knowledge, as we are getting today from the Bhagavad Gita, with the help of knowledge, we can understand difference between body and soul. And the whole Bhagavad Gita gives us the process how to actually see. Now, this verse that we read, Krishna is saying someone who actually sees, someone who has proper vision. Who is that person who has proper vision? Someone who sees with the lenses of knowledge. You see, I'm wearing these glasses, so I'm able to see. If I remove my glasses, it's difficult to see. So if I wear, tinted glasses, they are tinted red, then obviously I'll see everything around me red, because those are the glasses that I have worn. Similarly, if we wear glasses made of knowledge, in other words, when we see through the eyes of the Bhagavad Gita, that is when we will actually see. Now, in the very next verse of this chapter, number 31, Krishna says, when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. So now he's talking about who is a sensible man. Normally, we consider ourselves very sensible. Obviously, no one is going to say, oh, I'm foolish or I'm stupid. Everyone thinks I'm intelligent. But with the help of knowledge, we can see properly, which means we do not speculate. Many times people speculate, oh, according to me, God and so is so, God looks like this, God lives here, speculate about, different aspects of, no speculation. Here Krishna says actual seer, someone who actually sees is the one who sees with the help of knowledge. In other words, of course, we have to give importance to the body, but an intelligent person takes more care of the spirit soul, because it's the spirit soul which is eternal. It has no birth and no death. It is the body which has more birth and death. So if we have material vision, then we will only see material body. Like we will see, oh, this is a dog, this is a fish, this is a human, etc., etc. Yes, we do have to see that difference, but it's important to have knowledge that in each and every living entity, whether it's human being, animal, aquatic, or whoever, there is a spirit soul in that body. And not only that, Krishna has already explained to us in previous verses that he is also present in each and every living entity. So in the heart of each individual is the spirit soul, and the supreme soul, the super soul, which is the supreme personality of Godhead. So in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna gave us the foundation that we are not this body, but we are living in this material world and we have to maintain the body. We have to keep the body and soul together. That's, of course, that's necessary, but we should not forget the importance of the soul. It's the, we feed the body every day. Similarly, we need to feed the spirit soul also. Now the question may arise, what is the food for the spirit soul? It's very simple. Bhagavad Gita explains to us that the food for the spirit soul is the holy name, chanting of the holy names of the Lord, because these spiritual sound vibrations, they can help us to kind of become self-realized, to really understand that I am the spirit soul. It helps us to purify the heart. It helps us to remove the unwanted things from the heart. And that is why after every class, we do chanting. We chant after every class so that we can purify our hearts. Now one may say, I am already purified. Good, very good, no problem. So chanting will help us to remain pure. So here in this verse, excuse me, Krishna is talking about not just the material vision, but the spiritual vision. What does it mean that a person has a spiritual vision? It means that a person knows that when the spirit soul comes in contact with the material nature, then that spirit soul gets a body. It's like, a covering. Say, for instance, I'm wearing this garment today. It is covering my body. Similarly, the body is the covering for the spirit soul. So when a person sees with spiritual vision, with the help of knowledge, then that person understands that these are just designations. I'm a woman, I'm a man, I am this, I'm that, I'm big, I'm small. All these are just designations and they are only for the body. But we are spirit souls. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that we are parts and parcels of the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna, and we are eternal. We are Sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. So with the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, we can purify our consciousness. We can develop our consciousness in such a way, of course, with the help of knowledge, so that we can understand our true identity. Unfortunately, people in the material world only understand the material identity. They forget what is their constitutional position. Now, in the very next verse, number 32, Krishna says, those with a vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material world, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. So you see, very, very important to understand the vision of eternity. I love the way Srila Prabhupada translates it, the vision of eternity. What is that? To understand that the soul is eternal, it is transcendental, and it is beyond the modes of material nature, which is goodness, passion, and ignorance, which means the spirit soul is actually on the platform of pure goodness. And as we learned from the first verse that we recited today, verse number 30, where Krishna explains that the soul does nothing. It is the body that is performing all the activities. So the soul is not the cause of entanglement. People get entangled in this material world, but it is not the soul that is doing that. It is the activities of the body. And we already learned in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita that, there are more than 22 verses which explain the qualities of the spirit soul, that the spirit soul is spiritual, it's eternal, it cannot be wet by water, it cannot be drowned, it cannot be burnt, it cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon. It is eternal, it never dies. So in one of the purpose, Srila Prabhupada explains the birth of the material body. You see, it's the body that takes birth. The soul is not born at all. It just enters into a material body. Say, for instance, I die tomorrow. What is going to happen? I will leave this body here, which is perishable, but the spirit soul, which is inside the body, is going to come out and it's going to go into the next body based on my actions, based on my karma, based on all the activities that I have performed in this life. So Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna that the soul is not born, it just enters into another body. Soul is transcendental and it is eternal, cannot destroy it. But the best part is the spirit soul, because it's part of the Supreme Lord, it is all blissful. Then the question may arise, then why are we experiencing distress? The soul is not experiencing distress or happiness. It's the body that experiences happiness and distress. And as we read these few verses, we can see who is responsible for happiness and distress. It is we. Based on our activities, we face happiness or distress. When one understands this concept from the Bhagavad Gita, then one is able to dovetail all the activities towards the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, a person becomes Krishnaized. Let's say an iron rod. You take an iron rod and you put it in fire, let it burn, burn, burn for a long time. When we remove that rod, iron rod, and when we touch it, it's going to burn. It develops the qualities of the fire because it has been in the fire. So similarly, when we dovetail our activities in Krishna, then we become Krishnaized. That's how we can put it. Our consciousness gets purified and it changes. In fact, in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yagnarthat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha tad artham karma kantaya mukta sangha samachara. He's talking about that when whatever work we do, if we do not perform it as a sacrifice for the Lord, then that work causes bondage. And because of that bondage, there is entanglement. And that's what this verse is talking about entanglement. So if we want to be free from entanglement, then we should perform our activities based on the scriptures, based on the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is an owner's manual that tells us how to lead this human form of life. Now, today's last verse, Krishna says, the sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. What a nice way to explain. Krishna is explaining how the body and the soul are separate. They do not mix. Just like the sky, it's all pervading. You see, so whenever there is the air blowing, or whatever, it does not mix. It does not. So similarly, the soul, even though it's in the material body, it does not mix with the body. It just spreads as consciousness in the body. It does not mix, even though it is inside the body. So Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport how the air does not mix. So in the scriptures, there is a very nice description about the you can say the qualities of the soul and also the size of the soul. You see, the soul is 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, which means you take the tip of the hair and you cut it into 1,000 pieces. Then take that one piece and cut that also into 10,000 pieces, right? So 1,000 pieces. So that is the size of the soul. It's so tiny, can't see. Even the most what is it called, the instrument which may be very powerful, even that powerful instrument cannot see the spirit soul. But see, it gives consciousness to the whole body. The doctors, they know that the energy comes from the heart, but they think it's the heart. No, it is the spirit soul which is situated in the heart that gives the energy to the body. So now the important point to understand is that we cannot see the soul. So how do we believe it's there? Srila Prabhupada explains, we believe because there is consciousness in the body. Just like, I say, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Can I see hunger? No, I cannot see hunger, but I can feel the hunger. I know I'm hungry. So when I eat, then my hunger is satisfied. And then I say my hunger is gone, even though I cannot see it, but I can feel it. So similarly, we cannot see the soul, but we can feel it with the help of consciousness. That's the difference between a living body and a dead body. There is consciousness in the living body. There was a very famous scientist. What was his name? Harry Monson. Harry Monson, he discovered that the value of the dead body, when the soul has left the body, the dead body, the value is $5.40. That's about it. But when the soul is inside the body, you can't put a value on the body. It's so valuable. You can say it's invaluable. You can't put a value on that body. What is it that gives a value to the body? It's the spirit soul. So now we cannot see the soul. So how do we know the soul? The scriptures tell us we see it with our ears, by hearing, just like we all are hearing from the Bhagavad Gita. That's how we understand. So it's important to hear the Bhagavad Gita from bona fide source. And after hearing, it's important to implement it, which means put it into practice. Just hearing is good, but it's not good enough. So it's important to hear it and put it into practice. Now, Bhagavad Gita gives us a very, very important information, or you can say knowledge, by which we can break the cycle of happiness and distress, break the cycle of birth, disease, old age, and death. You see, now we have understood from these verses that we are responsible for our own happiness and distress. So now that we know, why not use our philosophical intelligence? Why not understand Bhagavad Gita, put it into practice? Why not chant the holy names of the Lord? Why waste human form of life? Because human form of life is a golden opportunity for us to break the cycle of happiness and distress. You see, I don't think there is anyone in this world who likes to be in distress. Everyone wants to be happy, but unfortunately, people don't know where to get permanent happiness. But Bhagavad Gita is showing us how we can become permanently happy while living in this material world, while living with our family, while going to a job or doing business or whatever it may be. We can still be happy. How? It's just a matter of changing the consciousness. You see, family, friends, jobs, homes, cars, all these will come and go. None of them can save us. None of them can save us. Only thing that can save us is bhakti yoga. See, the yoga ladder is there. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga. What is bhakti yoga? Bhakti yoga is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That is what can save us from the cycle of happiness and distress. There's no need to change anything. It's not that we have to give up family, job, everything, and go to the mountains and meditate. No, we can still remain in our family, do our job, but just change our consciousness. Put the Bhagavad Gita in the center of our lives. Try to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Try to make better choices. You see, it's our choices, our desires that lead to actions, and those actions are adding up our karma, right? So based on our karma, we are either experiencing happiness or distress. So who is the culprit? We are the culprit because we are choosing to perform certain actions. So we cannot blame anyone. So basically, the whole purpose of all these three verses is to help us understand that we are responsible for our own happiness and distress. So we need to make right choices. What is the first right choice we can do is, Krishna explains in practically every chapter that the process is very simple. All we need to do is mantra meditation. Man means mind, tra means to free the mind of anxieties. So when we chant the mantra, then those sound vibrations, excuse me, those sound vibrations, they are so powerful that they enter into our heart and they purify the heart. And even it sharpens the intelligence so that we can make right choices. So I am going to post, I think someone asked a question. Let me see. How to balance between attachment and detachment in this materialistic world. Whoa, this is a very powerful question. I'll definitely answer, but let me post some of the links, but at the bottom of the link is the mantra that we chant on a daily basis. So after I answer this question, we will chant for a little while, and maybe you can also chant with me, and you can experience that how it makes one happy just by hearing these sound vibrations. So let me see. The question is how to balance between attachment and detachment in this materialistic world. First of all, very important is to take on knowledge, because Bhagavad Gita knowledge is not blind faith. You know, it's not that do this, this, and this. No, we need to hear, we need to contemplate on it, understand it, and then put it into practice. So being in the materialistic world, definitely there are certain activities that we need to perform. You know, we may have a family, parents, children, whoever it may be. We need to take care of them. We need to take care of this body. We need to maintain the body and soul together, right? That is part of this material world. But if we understand the Bhagavad Gita, especially if we start chanting the holy names on a daily basis, then what is going to happen is going to sharpen our intelligence. It's going to help us to really understand what is real attachment. You see, it's a simultaneous process. If by chanting we start getting attached to Krishna, then automatically there's going to be detachment from materialistic life. Now, that doesn't mean that we will give up our job, family, etc. No, it will be only change of consciousness. It will be just a change of our thought process. It'll be purification. So what Krishna is trying to say, that there should be affection, but not attachment. You see, there's a huge difference. Now one may say, let me give you an example how to differentiate. So I have a son, and how do I bring up my son? You know, how do I raise him? There are two options, either with complete attachment or with affection. So now what will be the difference in the two? If I'm only attached to my son, then I will only think about his material aspect, which means his education, his well-being, his job, etc., 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 everything to do with this material body. But if I have affection for my son, then I will, besides giving him material education, I'll also give him spiritual education. You understand? So that is affection. So that affection will automatically lead to detachment. In other words, it's not that I won't love my son, but I will not be attached. Why? Because I'm guiding the son on the spiritual path as well. Both go hand in hand simultaneously. So the best way to balance is that we keep both part of in our lives, both aspects, material as well as spiritual. So we still go to our job, or whether it's a school, college, or whatever it may be, your business, but at the same time, we take on spiritual education also, take on knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and chant on a daily basis. So this is how we can balance it. It's not that we have to give up the family and we have to, like abandon them and, say, oh, I don't want anything to do with you, no. We still live with our family. I've been with my family for, I've been married 47 years and living a very happy life. But what is the center of our life? It is Krishna. It is Bhagavad Gita. So I think it looks like I've answered your question. So what we will do is we will chant for a few minutes, and you can see the mantra is there already in the chat window. And what I'll do is I will post just the mantra again so that you can chant with me. Please chant with me. Excuse me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So you see, I chanted 10 times. And these beads, they have 108 beads. So if we chant 108 times, then it takes about 8 to 10 minutes and it's considered one round. So I would like to request all of you to please chant on a daily basis, and you yourself will see the difference. So I'm going to stop now. And if anyone has any questions,